Hey, this is Jake Jordan, award-winning marketing strategist and founder of The Productive Point of View. And I'm here today to discuss something that a lot of clients that I talk to on a daily basis ask about, and that is, how do I know what's working in my marketing? And that's not, like I said, a really uncommon problem to have when you're trying to do a lot of things with a brand or with a client's brand. So I wanted to discuss the three main things that I talk about with clients to make sure that their campaigns are successful and they're hitting the mark like they should. Because at the end of the day, when you can get back to the basics and do good work for people, it allows you to get back to the things that you're passionate about, whether it's the psychology or the art or the conversations and connections. Whatever drew you to the marketing to begin with is really where I want to get you back to. So let's start out with a situation that I had a few weeks ago with a client. Brand new client comes on board, and tell me if this sounds like either you or some of the clients that you work with. And what they had was a great voice offline, like down in the weeds, you know, hand-to-hand combat. People knew who they were in the industry. And so they were happy with their reputation that way. But they had basically a mediocre website, and they were running some Facebook ads, and they had been blogging for a little while, but really couldn't tell if they were getting, you know, any traction on any sort of leads that were coming in through the website, because there was some leads, there's some occasional leads, there was some traffic, but they really couldn't attribute it in a way that could really kind of boil it down to, this is what we spent, this is what we spent our time on, and this is the exact outcome, and here's what happened along the way. So we can connect all those dots, A to C, A to D, A to Z, if you will. And so what I did is I sat down with them and made sure that, number one, they understood who they were talking to, right? And where they were trying to get them to go, and just kind of how well they knew their customer. All basic things we do as marketing professionals, right? Well, kind of the aha for the client came in when we started talking about what sort of contributions we were making to the client's aspirations. So we've been stuck in this traditional role of pain points and personas and demographics and things like that were all great, and they're still, you know, powerful things to know. But as we get into a much more plugged in type of world today with our mobile phones and tablets and TVs and the way things work, we're a much more casual, conversational type of place when it comes to marketing these days. And that's why things such as Snapchat and Periscope and, you know, Musical.ly and things like that have begun to pop up and have become really, really popular in a very quick amount of time, because it lets people express themselves and their views without having to spend a lot of money and do it in a really amazing way. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was declarations, right? So declarations. And what does that mean? So that's really, for traditional marketing people, that's the top of your funnel. That is awareness. How many times a day, a week, a month are you talking to your clients in a way that they're talking in their own heads? So if you, for example, are a real estate agent, okay? And real estate agents tend to be pretty good at this when they're in person talking to people or speaking someplace, but online it doesn't feel this way. It's very transactional. And what I'm talking about is they will have a conversation on their website about listings. Nobody cares about listings. Listings is it's a word for the industry to describe a bunch of things on the screen that they can click on and look at a house. What people care about, right, is a home, particularly females making a lot of the input and decisions on who's, you know, what's happening when you purchase a home in a traditional kind of family situation, right? And so if you don't speak to the aspiration of owning a home and making it your own and having the pets in the backyard and being able to open up the kitchen window out in front of you over the sink as you cook, as the kids run around the island in the kitchen. If you're not talking like that sort of things out in your declarations, number one, to start here, then you're not speaking the language of your clients. Now, sure, you can grab people who are ready to buy a home and will see your ad or they'll see your article and go, okay, they have listings. But that's not inspiring. I mean, there's nothing that makes you go, gosh, those people really care about finding something that fits me, right? And so I don't think that's a new concept for anybody. What I do think is a lot of people don't put it into practice. And so as one of my mentors says, common sense is not common practice, which is why there tends to be a lot of room in almost every market still if you're speaking in a language that your client understands. So that's the first thing we always talk about when my clients go, how do I know what's working? How do I measure this in the right way? Sure, there's a lot of things you can do with Google Analytics and the pixels from like a Facebook or a Twitter or Instagram or any ads that we can put on websites and see where people are clicking and traffic's going. But that's just outputs, okay? That's things and numbers that show up on a screen to say, how's the conversation going? So if you don't have it set up that way to start, then you're really just kidding yourself, right? Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about, after you're talking about declarations and getting out there, are you selling to the aspirations? Okay, so the first thing is we make a declaration about, hey, we can help you with this, or hey, here's how you can solve this without us. Second, we start actually selling to the aspirations. So let's go back to that real estate person. We talk about why homes are important. We talk about how having a home makes you feel. We talk about all those sort of things to stir up emotions, right? And that's not a bad thing because that's what people are already doing themselves when they're thinking about buying a home. But the next thing we want to do is say, what's the next step in that aspirational timeline for that person? After they've thought, man, I've saved some money now for a down payment. Do people do that anymore? They should, right? But they saved a little money and they've gone, okay, I should probably find a realtor. And sure, a couple of my friends have said I should try this realtor and that realtor. Okay, so there's something that we should be involved in that conversation if possible. Can we help you pick a realtor? Here's how we can help you and here's why we're qualified. We understand what you need and here's some realtors that specialize in this area of town because we know that's the type of lifestyle you want, right? And that's just one small example of an aspiration. Another great example in a real estate transaction of an aspiration is schools. Families tend to buy up in homes, and so that's a market that people aim at. And schools are something that get listed with a star rating as a part of the listing. And occasionally you'll see copy in listings online that says, hey, this is great schools. But no one's going down to what's the conversation in the head of the person who's thinking, are there good schools here? And here's why I want good schools. I want my kids to get into college and I want them to get scholarships because the schools that they're in are going to be so good that they're going to help them score so well in tests that my kid is going to get into MIT and it's going to be paid for. That's not the type of language that you see on people's pages, on real estate agents or brokers typically. I'm not washing over everybody here, just talking about the industry as a whole. So that's just another great example of when you speak to the aspiration, the conversation inside people's head that's already going on and get up on that line of aspiration to the top of their dream and you speak at those points, that's when you're really talking to people in a conversational manner that makes them invite you into the next step without asking. It's just, what more do you have? This is cool. This is amazing. I'm going to call these people. I'm going to get on their Facebook page because if they're talking to me like this in ads on their Facebook page, they must have some really good stuff, whatever it may be, wherever you may be. Okay. So now that we have our declarations out there and we're speaking in a way that makes sense and we have our aspirations that we're trying to sell into or push people up that aspirational timeline that they're already on with us, the last thing that we want to do is measure conversations. Okay, a lot of people call these leads. A lot of people call these, sales leads, whatever you want to call them. This is typically your form fill, your phone call, and your website. But what I want to make sure that you connect here is this is not a new concept. Lots and lots of people do this. This is built into Google Analytics when you set up something, right? What you want to do is take your declarations, the conversation you had, and measure how many of them went onto one of the aspirations that you had planned. And hopefully you have more than one. You have 2 or 3 or 4 before they get to the point where they want to have a conversation with you. And that's where, if you're in the field of marketing, and marketing professionals is typically who I'm dealing with and primarily who I'm talking at. Anyone who's doing marketing for a living, whether it's their own business or someone's brand, you understand that you got to measure the whole funnel. And funnel is the word we're talking about here. And a traditional funnel says, start with awareness and move to consideration so they can consider you, and then make sure that they close. And that's not how people think. It's never been how people think. But particularly today, when clients can do so much of their own homework, they know so much about you before they ever see you. And so if you get in the game early and you can help them understand that you get them, then the conversations that you measure at the end is a backwards measurement through the aspirations you set up, all the way back to that first declaration that they found you at. And you can measure each point and see where they're falling off. And that'll be another sort of conversation for another video, because there's a lot we can talk about there is what do we measure along the way? Specifically, and particularly in that aspirational area, how can we do things like that? But that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys today, because it's so common. Almost every single client we bring on here at the agency that I work at says, how do we know what's working? How do I turn around and sell this to the C-suite? I need numbers. You don't need numbers, you need success. You need to be able to tell the C-suite, your investors, yourself at the end of the day, I know the client and I know where they're falling off because we're not doing a good job telling the story. So that's it for today. If you have any other questions on this particular subject, go down below in the comments. I would love to hear how you guys address this at your agency, at your business, wherever you're at your brand. I'd love to know how you measure conversations, because as we move forward and technology continues to speed up and virtual reality is becoming a thing, and speaking as opposed to typing will be bigger and bigger as we move along. Conversation is critical, and so we have to speak conversationally to our clients. So that's it. This is a brand new YouTube channel, so if you found this useful, I would love it if you think someone could use it. Right down here below, you can share this with your friends. I also have some other links to the Facebook page and the Instagram page where I share a lot of other different things. But at the end of the day, I want to help you have better conversations with your client based on what we do here and on the podcast that we have. I talk to marketing professionals every day. Once a week, interview one and find out what the top 2% of marketing professionals are doing that's working really well, and just share it back to you guys, because I love marketing. I have a passion for people and connection, and I want to connect with you. So thanks for tuning in this week, and I will be back next week with another question from you guys and to discuss. So have a great evening, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.